A day in the life of a medical laboratory technician. True hospital story. It was 6:15 a.m. when the alarm buzzed on Clara Olatunde's nightstand. She groaned softly, rubbing sleep from her eyes, before swinging her legs over the side of the bed. Another day. Another chance to save lives without ever picking up a scalpel. Clara was a medical laboratory technician at Greenwood District Hospital, and while her name was rarely known by the patients she helped, her work was often the invisible line between life and death. She showered quickly, tied her hair into a tight bun, and dressed in her pale blue uniform. The scent of disinfectant and fresh coffee lingered faintly in the morning air as she stepped into the laboratory by 7 a.m. The first samples had already arrived. "Morning, Clara," called out David, the lead technologist, as he handed her a cooler bag filled with blood and urine samples from the emergency unit. Possible malaria, typhoid, and one suspected sepsis case. Stat. Clara's heart rate picked up. She loved this part when time mattered most. She slipped on her gloves, labeled the vials, and began processing the samples. One child's sample, in particular, caught her attention. The white cell count was through the roof. She ran additional tests. Malaria parasites confirmed. She flagged the result and called the pediatric doctor immediately. Without Clara's quick work, that child might have slipped into a coma. Behind the glass walls as the hours ticked by, Clara worked through a flood of requests: a pre-surgical cross-match for a C-section patient, routine blood tests for diabetics, sputum samples for TB screening, and even a rare sickle cell phenotype test. From behind the glass walls of the laboratory, she watched patients walk by, some with hope in their eyes, others with fear. They had no idea how much of their future rested on her shoulders and the accuracy of her reports. By noon, Clara's back ached, but she couldn't stop. A trauma victim had just arrived from a road accident. There was internal bleeding. She had 10 minutes to finish the grouping and cross-matching of blood for an urgent transfusion. As she set up the agglutination tray, her hands were steady, focused. She couldn't afford mistakes. A wrong match could kill the patient. Confirmed B positive, she radioed in. Seconds later, a nurse rushed in to collect the unit. The dark moment at 3 p.m., just as Clara was about to take her first proper break, a senior nurse burst in, panic written across her face. "The blood sugar monitor is giving erratic results. We have a diabetic patient with a suspected hypoglycemic crisis. Can you verify manually?" Clara dropped everything, grabbed the emergency glucometer and test strips, and followed the nurse down to the ward. The man on the bed was barely conscious, his lips pale, his wife sobbing beside him. Clara pricked his finger gently, counted the seconds, and stared at the reading. 1.4 mol/L, she muttered. "He's crashing. He needs glucose, now." Within minutes, the man was given an 4 glucose infusion. His breathing steadied, and the tears of his wife turned from grief to gratitude. Clara returned to the lab, quiet. These were the moments that humbled her, the fine line between numbers on a screen and a human life. The unexpected gratitude at 5:45 p.m. As Clara was about to log out, a young woman walked into the lab reception with a bouquet of flowers. "Are you Clara?" she asked, smiling shyly. "Yes, I am. My daughter was the malaria case from this morning. The doctors said your quick report made all the difference. I just wanted to say thank you." Clara smiled, surprised. "You're welcome," she said, softly. "That means a lot." As the woman left, Clara stared at the flowers, simple daisies and roses, and something inside her warmed. Not just a technician by 6:30 p.m. Clara signed out, removed her lab coat, and washed her hands slowly. The lab was quiet now. The machines were humming gently, and the scent of reagents still lingered in the air. She looked around one last time before stepping out into the cool evening breeze. To many, she was just a technician. But to the unconscious trauma patient, the diabetic man, the sick child, she was something more. She didn't wear a stethoscope or perform surgeries, but her hands had helped preserve lives. And that was more than enough. Behind every diagnosis, there's a lab. Behind every lab, there's a technician like Clara, tireless, precise, and often invisible. The next time you receive a test result, remember someone was in the background, making sure it was right. because your life depended on it.